Hello and welcome back for our final look at Luke together this week. We're going to be looking at Luke 15. And Luke 15 is probably one of the most famous passages in the Bible in many ways. But it starts out with this another confrontation between Jesus and the Pharisees because Jesus is beginning to get a reputation. He's attracting the wrong sort of people, those people that society rejects a lot, the sinners, the ones that you don't want to associate yourselves with, particularly the Pharisees. They don't want to hang around with these people, and they can't understand why Jesus is allowing all these sinners to come into his presence. In fact, he's hanging out with them, he's eating with them. That's just not the right behaviour for a religious leader. And Jesus is exasperated in many ways with these religious leaders who just don't get what his whole mission is about. His whole mission is about seeking the lost. And he tells a series of stories to try and illustrate what the Father's heart is all alike. But these religious leaders don't seem to understand the heart of God. And so he tells this first story about, well, look, there were 100 sheep and one of them goes astray. What does the shepherd do? Does he write off that sheep that's gone astray? Or does he leave the 99 somewhere safe, hopefully, and go in search for that lost sheep? Is that high enough priority to God? And the answer is yes. God will search and hunt down the lost sheep that has gone astray and be overjoyed when one that was lost has been found and have a party about it. The whole of heaven, the Bible indicates, is rejoicing when one who is lost becomes part of God's family again. And the second story is about this woman who has 10 silver coins. It's probably from her wedding, her dowry. They often wore headdresses with coins connected to them. Maybe it was one of those. And anyway, she'd lost one, and this meant a lot to her. It was quite a proportion of her wealth, but also it was probably had very much significant sentimental reasons that this was important to her. Well, and she turns her house upside down trying to find this lost coin. And that's a symbol of how much effort God will go to find us. There he is on his hands and knees. The woman was on her hands and knees cleaning and sweeping and tidying and pulling things apart to find out what was behind it. There's this real desire that's demonstrated here that God has, almost desperation to find the lost soul, the lost coin, the lost sheep. And then tells this really, really famous story about the lost son. The story of the son that goes astray. There's two sons. He goes to the father, one of them, and says, "Look, I want my inheritance now. I want to go and spend it. You're almost dead to me by saying that. So if I'm counting you as dead, then give us your inheritance and I'll be on my way." And strangely, the father goes, "Okay, I'm going to do that for you." And he gives him his inheritance, lets the guy go out and about. He spends it all, has a wild time, and then ends up looking like he's down and out. He has nothing left. He has to sell himself to be a hired servant. He has to feed the pigs, which is the bottom of the bottom rung in terms of the Jewish community, looking after pigs, which are unclean animals and they shouldn't eat them, they're non-kosher. And ultimately, here he is in that situation at rock bottom, and he realises, he thinks about it and thinks, gosh, even the servants in my own father's house lived a better life than this. They had food to eat, they had clothes to wear, they had a bed to sleep in. Why don't I go back and say, I'm not good enough to be your son anymore? I recognise that, but could I still be one of your servants? Would you allow me to do that? And so he goes back to the father, And the Father has been constantly looking at the horizon, hoping and praying that the Son would return. And he spots him from a long way off and runs down the road to greet him and welcomes him back in. And before the Son can come up with his big speech about, oh, I'm not good enough to be your son, I'll be your servant, he's saying, come on in, let's have a party, give him some clothes to wear, let's kill that fatted calf or whatever it is, and have a party. And it really does demonstrate for us that God is a God that we are so important to. That yes, we're given free will. We are given the ability to just wander off if that's what we want and left to the consequences of bad choices. But if we decide that we've made a mistake, and if we just turn around and we just humbly accept the help of the Father God, then he is utterly up for that. He is more than willing. He is desperate for us to rejoin the family. That's quite a shocking picture to the Jews at that time, that the Father God, who's fairly distant, fairly judgmental, you have to follow all the rules, you have to do the right thing, or you don't get to heaven. Well, here is a picture that God from heaven is desperately coming and searching for the lost souls. But that's a picture of Jesus, isn't it? God on earth, Emmanuel, God amongst us. He is willing to come. He is willing to get his hands dirty. He is willing to sacrifice his own life so that we will be found. We will be saved. And we will rejoin the family of God. That's a powerful image. And at the end of this week, I think that's something worth taking away and pondering on. God bless and have a great day.